we've got 10 o'clock. I'm gonna go ahead and call our meeting to order. Can I have a roll call, please, Michelle?
Clifton.
Here.
Fitch. Here. Stancil. Here.
All present. Can I have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Motion by Diane, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Heather. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. All right. Rick, Mitch, who wants to start us?
We start with
Yeah.
the progress update.
All right. Midwest Caulk, they started yesterday. They caulked in the remaining window that we had and the exterior doors. And they cut out the expansion joints and got them ready for caulk. They pulled off today because of the temperature. They'll be back tomorrow. Basement door, for anybody that get caught up on it, the door that we had were made for the existing frame. Then we got the new frame. Well, the doors were too big for the frame. So I got the frame set. The doors were sent back on Monday. They gotta take 3/16 off of each door to bring it down to, they said they can cut the doors down, do the best fix. So sent them back yesterday. They're supposed to be working on them this week. Hopefully they'll get them back soon. Frame is installed. That's where we're at on the basement door.
Can, they're metal, aren't they?
Yep.
So when you say cut them down, what does that mean?
I don't know what that means by them. They're shopable. They fabricate the doors in the shop, so how they're gonna do it, I don't know.
Because when you say best they can, that,
I didn't say the best they can.
Is it a solid steel door, and so they just shave off some of the solid, or is it steel over hollow? 'Cause I was-
It's a hollow metal. It's a hollow metal, so how they take it apart and get it cut down, I don't know. But they thought it would be their easiest route.
Does that compromise that door to be?
Does not.
No.
They make the doors,
So they
it's
just
just
take
gonna
them
be
apart,
redone.
take them apart and put, oh, all right.
Yeah.
Take them apart,
Landscaping, they finished last week putting the rest of the shrubs in. I believe the landscape architect's asking that it be mulched at the price.
Yeah, so my question is to Mitch, we got a credit on a lot of the plants, can we take the credit and buy the mulch, because we need the mulch it in. We need to water it and get it really good and cold and mulch it in. So do we have a credit, because we turned out a lot of
I've asked
shrubs.
for one, yeah.
Okay, so then we could flip out the shrubs for the mulch, are you guys okay with that?
what was, okay, I'm confused.
The
So what
boxwoods?
exactly was credited, because I thought we decided to plant them somewhere else.
We did some, but
Some
when
went
they,
back and some could.
There's-
Oh,
some
okay.
went back,
Okay.
and some they
Couple
wouldn't take.
trees that weren't.
Yeah. So if you could check the
Yeah.
credit, we could, okay.
But yeah, I agree, those extra shrubs that we couldn't send back where they got planted, that probably should be mulched, otherwise you're gonna try to trim around them and you're gonna kill them when you weed
Yes,
them.
Right.
yes.
Are we just gonna throw mulch around them, or are we gonna build them?
No, the
dig it out
landscaper's
and
gonna
put-
do
Well, it
it.
sounds like the landscapers are
They're
working
gonna,
Okay.
on it.
Okay, then downspouts, they've been working on the downspouts. They got the 6-inchers installed by the end of last week. Their foreman's been out, he's been sick the last couple days. Well, I don't know if it was today because of the weather or whether he's still sick, but they're planning on by the end of the week, they're gonna finish the downspouts. Got the painter coming back, he's gonna be here tomorrow. He's gonna get in the courtroom and get them windows stained and varnished. Gonna paint the frame that we have downstairs and gonna paint the downspouts. So,
isn't the painter you've had all along?
yeah,
Oh, good.
Yeah,
So it's
sure.
all right.
I'm not sure which one they're sending, but they're. Courtroom windows, they say we got them ready for stain and varnish. We got bumped out of that room, got back in there, was able to get them all nailed up and sanded and filled and ready. As soon as we get that stained and varnished, then we'll be able to hang the blinds and fill the wall back. The handrails, they came in, they had a bad coat of lacquer on them that caused that dark browning, so they sanded them all down and re-lacquered them. And then they got the right boxes to hook up the lights are all on, they look fantastic. So the handrails were all taken care of last week. The pipe cover, we talked to XL this week, he was in, or last week. He's got them sealed in, weather tight, so that nothing can get in there. He said to put a cover on there, he would have to re-pipe, he would have to disconnect all the refrigeration lines, put the box down on it, and then re-hook them all up. So it's quite the process to put a cover on there. They said they can get a cover. When they can get the cover, they have to check on the timing, when they can get the cover, and then when the timing's right to disconnect, to rerun all these lines.
They're talking on the south side over the,
Yep.
over the port court.
Yeah,
Why are we just finding this out now? I mean, we've been talking about this since last
Because none of us
fall.
like that light.
we have the same question.
We just found it out too.
We,
All that he-
I've been calling him for 6 months probably.
It seems like there should be an alternative without disconnecting all those pipes. I mean, anytime you disconnect the pipes, you have a question if you,
he said we could do a temporary fix, we could put some like a foam wrap around it, but he said it wouldn't last 2 years at most, and
Why doesn't he get a big piece of PVC painted the same color as the building and pop over at the top of it, hinge it?
well, then you're cutting PVC, and how you connect that PVC on there, you know, is it gonna look any better than
Can't you
what we got
hinge it on
now?
the backside somehow, so you could form it and pop it over, paint it the same color, hinge it on the backside, and just, so you couldn't even see it?
I
Well,
don't think
understood
it'll-
from Jason, the one line protrudes out too far, so the one line would have to be readjusted. And what they showed me, it's a plate that would cover up better than PVC pipe.
it would seem to me that it'd only have to cover like 180 degrees, then it wouldn't
Yeah.
have to completely surround it.
I thought the idea was that we were gonna hide it the best we can, because some of it's white, some of it's black, some of it's.
I think it looks tacky.
So,
It does look tacky, but
Um,
I'm a little concerned that, you know, we've been talking about this for
For a long
a
time.
long time. Since that hole was put in there, we've been talking about this, so.
It's kind of been a thorn.
I'm a little concerned as to why we're just finding this out now.
It's just that you've been working on the guy to get there for
Mitch has
6
been
months.
trying to call him for 6 months.
So you're telling me they've been non-responsive for 6 months?
no, I'm saying, every time I talk to him, he says, I'll come check it out. We'll schedule it, call him in 2 weeks, same thing.
That's the only person you use, there's no other alternative that could?
I mean, there is, he's the one that priced it originally,
Is it Excel?
and he does a lot of work for Chip, so.
Jason. Yeah. He's probably.
He's gonna walk me through to do it right, the lines.
probably
too.
way
He's-
too
he's
busy.
shut down, but the coolant line is sticking out too far, so I mean, and it's not like you can bend copper line. But to do it right, I mean, as he said, they would fab a plate that would cover it, and they pull the lines right up next to the building, I mean. my
Well,
opinion, that
not
would-
like you need the cooling right now anyway, so.
Right. Is the hole filled so the opening at
Yes.
least won't allow?
Yes.
Okay.
it's weatherized, it's all sealed in.
So realistically, it won't be done until spring, probably.
He said he'd get back with us when they could, you know, get it fabricated, and then we gotta set up the time, and I don't know if that's, has anything to do with the heating, or it's all refrigeration, so,
Well, it's all
you
clean.
know.
I mean, I saw flakes on Saturday,
Yeah, it's supposed to.
so, I mean,
But as long as they can paint it, in the shop even, they can do that. The weather has to get pretty crappy before they could do that.
Yeah, they can do that in the winter and then come out on a good day. So you're gonna keep on them?
Yeah, he said he'd get back with us, and it's been a week now, and we haven't heard anything back, so.
Chip, you know these guys?
Yeah.
Could you call them, please?
Okay, the auditor's AC, I took one of our guys and we swapped the sashes out. We tore the windows apart and swapped the sashes and moved the AC unit from the left side to the right side, so they're not in line, so it won't be dripping on the AC unit.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
So,
And we didn't have any trouble with the fit, because I know there was a concern last time we talked.
we pulled measurements before we took it apart, and I wanna make sure everything, the numbers all match, so we went ahead and done it, everything went back
So we
together.
actually had 2 windows that were sized exactly the same.
Yeah, yeah.
Wow, that's
And next
unusual.
to each other even.
I know, that's unusual.
I was amazed in that too, but yeah, they actually fit and worked, and
Okay,
so we did get them swapped over,
thank you for doing that.
yeah.
That was really annoying if you sat in there. Constant drip.
I think that's pretty much what I got.
Yeah.
Regarding the rails, you said that they had, they found out the lacquer was bad, so they had to
The
sand.
final coat that they put on for some reason, was a darker lacquer, or it came back dark for some reason. They didn't understand what it was, but they went ahead and they polished, they stripped it down and done another coat of varnish over it and sealed it, and then everywhere, they went ahead and that bronze touch-up, that anywhere you could see the silver, they done all that and varnished it,
Did they
or
braise,
lacquered it, I mean.
did they braise any of those joints, Jeff, where they were cracked?
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Now, they told you it was a lacquer. The guy who installed it told me he felt that when they cut that, they used some kind of a lubricant, and he felt that that's what discolored it. Maybe it's the same thing, but, so then they fixed it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, to your point, Brett, can you clarify regarding the cracks and the seams, what did they do with that? They just filled it?
No, they would have to do a brazing on it to get that to be redone. So I have not seen any of this yet, but I will take a look at all of it and make sure it's.
What does braise mean? Is it like a solder?
It's like soldering.
Yeah, but you use your brass, so you fill it in with.
Where are we at with the south door equipment?
When I talked to her, I went down to their shop about this door. She said they're starting to get stuff in, but it's like smoke gasketing and stuff that, the important stuff like the hinges that we need first to get started. She said that, she was expecting maybe in the next 2 weeks that they would see them. But still waiting on the material to show up. When they get it all together, they're gonna ship it down, and I told her if the hinges come in first, that's what we need first, get them shipped down here right away so we can get started, so.
Every time we meet, it's like we're waiting next 2 weeks, next 2 weeks, next 2 weeks.
Been going on
What's
for 2.5
Well, this was,
Yes,
it
what's the
was,
hang up with these doors?
it was originally like 4 to 6 weeks, so we're 4 weeks into, since we had it okayed, so still another couple of weeks, we'd be in our 6-week window, so.
This is frustrating. It's also not uncommon, especially for hardware. In fact, Mitch just sent me a question yesterday on the hinges that I need to review, that they're trying to understand if they can substitute something, and I need to review that and get back to them on that today. So, sounds to me like maybe the hinges are the hang-up right now, so I'll learn more today.
They're an odd size, they're 7 by 6. They're a special order. They're heavy duty 7 by 6.
So they had to fabricate them, probably?
Yeah, probably.
I'll learn more today. I don't know what the problem is at this point, but I believe that the dimension that we've required, which incidentally was provided by one of their people giving us advice on how and to change some things, is something that they're questioning. And I think we need that for the offset or thickness and the trim of the face of the doors, but I need to confirm that. Okay?
Regarding the knot in the vestibule door, I sent you a week and a half ago, I think, it was when I was under mail. Did you get a chance to look at that?
I've seen it. I think the last thing we talked about was Brian Holtz was gonna look at that and see if there was anything else they would suggest on.
Can we position that door so it's in the least thing?
It's gonna be 7'6", it'll be in the top left-hand corner, and it's gonna be back in the side. I think anything we do with it, we're gonna make it look worse than what it is.
Oh, so it's up, so your eye really won't look at it, you know?
Right. It'll be 7'6" on a 10'6" door, so it's gonna be,
But my point was, is that by having it such a large wood fill, it looks like it's a repair, and those are brand new doors.
and
And they should have picked a different piece of wood when they constructed this door. I don't know
well,
why.
when you order wood and you got a 2" by 6" piece of wood, you know, they send you a bundle of wood. This isn't a normal, something you pick up at the lumber yard. This is something
Right.
that's special ordered in, and when it comes in, and then you work with what you got and do the best you can. I went through and I've looked at the other doors in the building. There's plenty of other knots that have been filled in the building. It's a common thing in the woodwork, so.
For repairs, yes, not for new doors. And
Well-
when you're ordering a door this size and at this expense, if you get a piece of damaged or less than stellar wood, you send it back and request a
This
release.
isn't the damage though. It's
When I say less than
It's a
stellar piece
it's a
of wood.
natural.
It's a natural, it's
feature of
kind of
wood.
beautiful
I
sometimes.
understand it, it would have been beautiful if it was left as a knot, but right now it looks like we filled a hole with wood filler and it
If
doesn't
you
look
left it,
good.
you'd have a hole in your door that big and that deep, so.
Well, then you send the piece of wood back. I mean, I've fabricated doors before, and I understand that, I mean, I have an old house, and I've had to refabricate things to replace things that were damaged or missing. And when you order special order wood, I get that, it comes in. If I have a piece of wood that doesn't look good, I send it back and get it replaced before I use it.
You work around it the best you can. You got this
Yeah,
piece of
you're-
stock, and at some point in time, you have to use what you got.
Every piece has knots in it. It's knotty wood, it's white oak, it's a hardwood, it's knotty wood. You know, it's not a knot-free wood. You can order and wait for another piece to come in, but it's gonna have knots too, so.
It's gonna be 7'6" on the backside. It's not gonna be very conspicuous. Mitch, do you have anything to add?
On that?
Anything?
Yeah, I mean, on that, I mean, it's one of the things where you put the filler in and it looks great, and then as soon as you stand it, pops out. So,
Yeah, it's gonna filler, it doesn't take stain like the wood does. There you go.
Outside of that quasi box, we can get an extension on that, probably 4 to 6 inches. And we just have to do a little bit of grading around it
Can you
slope it.
Can you mount that at an angle?
What are you talking about?
That electrical box.
The electrical box on the
East
side.
side. Does that have to mount level, or can you?
I think the electricians prefer it.
I'm sure they prefer it that way.
It should be level, yeah.
But it, you know, if we put an extension on it, next to the sidewalk, it would be nearly flush. It's just on the east side. Maybe
I would think you'd have less possibility of trip there, at least it's flush with the sidewalk.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
the other side, you're out, in, you know.
Yeah.
we can, you know, kind of slope everything around it, up to it, but,
Pretty good fall.
Yeah.
I mean, there shouldn't be anybody walking on the box anyway.
You would hope not.
I had to get children, they were climbing on the wall, and they were climbing on that little outbuilding that's up against the wall on the south side. that
Sure
has
they
the-
will, on that
Yes,
doghouse.
so
Sure.
I would imagine that we will have little climbers regardless of what we do.
What you do is open the window, stick your head out and scream at them, and
Oh,
it scares
I
them.
came up there and I told them to get down and they ran away, but.
Yeah.
yeah. So is that what we're gonna do, is we're gonna put cement up there so it's flush? Is that?
No, they're gonna
No,
raise the
they're-
cover up with flush with the cement.
Flush.
Oh, they're raising the cover up?
Yeah, put an extender on the cupboard underneath so it's flat, so you don't fall off on it. It's a pretty big drop, I mean, I
That's
think
another
it's
collar on top of this.
It's 6 inches.
Yeah, that's kind of a lot, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, if you guys get that riser,
Yeah.
that's what Chip thought the electric company
Is this
wanted to,
something
right?
here
Yeah.
that we can actually cut to avoid this thing actually being 4 inches taller? Because I think 4 inches is gonna actually put it above the sidewalk.
No, it's 6 inches.
It's 6
I
inches
leveled
below.
across there, it's 6 inches, right at 6 inches.
Does the cut sheet indicate that maybe we could cut the bottom of this and actually make it a little less than 4 inches? That might be better than bringing that thing up the full 4 inches.
Maybe split the difference a little bit, is that what you're getting at, Rick?
Yeah.
I can see what options there are.
If you cut the bottom of the collar off, then it wouldn't have to come up so high, and then I think you could make the difference up between the sidewalk, the top, and then you wouldn't have to slope so much around the.
Yeah.
around it.
Yeah. I'll just see
But
what's
4
available.
inches is the smallest one they've got.
The one you gave me originally was 6, so I'll have to see if there is a 4-inch extension. I don't know if they're pre-made, if they can custom make them size.
Okay. Yeah, I think if it was me, I would probably try to not bring it up to the level of the sidewalk. I'd bring it maybe a couple inches below that, and then on the other side, you could slope the lawn.
Sure.
You know?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll see what's available. I don't have anything else.
Rick? Mitch, I think you've covered everything I have. You got the LA punch done, we talked about the air conditioner. I will be issuing a substantial completion that'll be post-dated this week. I'm gonna be back this week to check on, I think, some of the punch list items that Jimmy put in place last week, Jeff, with you. And we'll run through those quickly, and all those outstanding items then will be listed on substantial completion. By my count, we've got about 16 items that I think we're all working on here. That includes, you know, the doors and the courtroom windows and the air conditioning pipe cover, all those kind of things. So that'll be noted in the substantial completion form. So look for those this week.
With substantial completion, does that mean that the warranty clock starts clicking at that point, or is it when it's fully completed, is when the warranty starts?
No, it starts from substantial completion.
Okay, so backdating it that will
I'm
start.
going to backdate it because that's when it was substantially complete, and I've not been able to get the form completed to date. So, basically, it was very close to the weekend that we all had to cover bridges. I think the date that I established or wrote down was like the 10th. So.
Of October?
Yeah.
Okay. So, for the issues that remain that were being worked on, are you gonna do a breakdown of what the value is, because then we hold that amount?
Yeah, we hold out twice the value of that, and it's, yes, that's an estimate of what we've got. And then if Brightholz chooses, they can work to release a portion of the retainage beyond that.
Okay.
So you're still, you're protected based on the retainage that remains in or unpaid after substantial completion. All of those items that are complete, the last portion of the retainage gets released to Brightholz.
Right now, the retainage is slightly under 200,000. Do you think these items are more than that or less than that?
Or less than that.
I mean, I don't have that final list, so I don't know. Okay, so I'll let you finish and I'll.
So Rick, that's something you can share with us, that substantial completion is.
Yeah, and it's changing every day because
Sure, they're-
Brightholz is working on those items. So we need to get, so as we punched it, we create the list and then they're working on it. So I'm gonna come down before I put the final substantial completion together and verify all those things, and we'll go from there.
And that will suffice for Brenda? Okay, so we're good. All right. All right.
Okay, I don't have anything else today.
Well, all right, let's talk about dental work,
The what?
the dental work and Heather's.
The metal work, yeah.
By reading your report, it isn't perfect. It's got it's not perfect. And, but, it, as you say, it won't compromise anything. If we make them come back, they'll bring, probably not scaffolding, it's too expensive, they'll bring a lift, they'll tear up the yard and break our sidewalks. Could we somehow figure and credit this back? Because you said it won't compromise anything. Should we, it won't let water, could we get a credit back?
I think I read it as some of that stuff should be repaired, it needs to be.
But then he says later, it doesn't.
So, let me try to, first of all, let's take a step back. One of the things that, so what you have in hand is my report that is a review of the pictures that Heather provided. And let's talk about the sheet metal first. The sheet metal does have deficiencies and things that I would recommend be corrected. They don't rise to the level of the quality of the work that I would expect. And I put those items in the report and they should be corrected. Now, that's not easy to do at this moment. Mitch and I have had, I think, 3 conversations now with this subcontractor. The subcontractor just received this report yesterday, and I wanted them to receive the report to make sure that what they were understanding as the scope of work that needed to be corrected was completely understood by them. We've asked them to come back and tell us how they would correct those things. Initially, they've come back and they have said that while they have priced scaffolding, they think it's cost prohibitive. They don't want to use the scaffolding route. They're coming back and say that if we're going to correct this, we suggest it be done from an 85-foot lift, which would be near the street, and we could get to those areas and access it in that way. When they do that, they've also told us that they believe they're going to break the sidewalk near the curbs. They don't intend to come onto the site significantly, but you can imagine there would be sod and soil disturbed in those areas. They don't believe that any of the interior sidewalks that are new would be touched. That may or may not be acceptable to you all. That is certainly not ideal. So I go back to the scaffolding question. So those are the 2 ways that they have to come in and prepare all this. We had thought that they would potentially come in today and be able to speak to those things, and then you would be able to make a choice. Seeing that I've just sent the report to them, I asked them to delay that. They can certainly come back next week and speak to you about what they believe they would do and how they would do it, and then you can make a choice at that point. The last choice that you have is one that you would say, we don't think we want to fix any of these things. You could choose to do that. That leaves some things in place that frankly I do not believe are the quality of the work that you've paid for. If you choose to do that, it would require, I think, a substantial amount of money to come back to the county as a credit. But you could accept those conditions. If you want, they're 3.5 stories in the air and they're not certainly very visible to the naked eye. But you paid for something more. So you would need to understand what the contractor would bring back to you for credit to consider that seriously. I posed that question to them yesterday in a call that Mitch and I had with them. They said they would look at it. I would hope that within a week they would be prepared to present 2 options to fix and potentially a credit if you wanted to pursue that as well as one of the solutions.
So
guess
if we
my-
don't accept this.
My inclination is, it needs to be fixed.
So reading your report, does not address all those pictures I sent you. I mean,
It certainly does not.
These are significant. I mean, these are far less than what I sent you. So my concern is that when you send this report to the subcontractor, they're gonna give the impression that this is all the problems that are there, and that's not the case.
Heather, I'm accepting many of the things that you think are deficiencies. I have identified as my job the things that I believe need to be corrected. So that is what I've sent the contractor, and that is what I think is appropriate for the corrections to the courthouse.
So you believe those corners that were bent and riveted into place, the
No, I do
roof
not
line
believe
that none of those
It
pictures.
is
on
in there, it's item number 1.
There, for all of them though, they're gonna think that's the only one that's there, and there's more corners than just that.
Read closely. It talks about every outside corner on the courthouse with the exception of one.
So when you give pictures though, it gives the impression that are these examples of the issue, or these are the only
Yes,
issue?
and when I've made them examples, I've noted in parentheses on the picture that it's an example.
Okay. So, what about the denting on the roof line?
I don't think that is an issue.
Okay. Because that's new. We didn't have that before. Now we
I
have.
don't, the denting that I think you're referring to is not new.
The one that's right above the dentals along the roof line, the little black parts that's dented and bent. Either that was done by the roofers or that was done by when the dentals put in. Somebody did it, because it wasn't there in the
I
original
don't
pictures.
know that I understand exactly what you're speaking to yet.
Okay. Well, I sent you.
Are you talking the drip edge on the roof?
No, I don't know if you got copies of all the pictures I sent, because it took like 6
It did,
emails to get
yes.
it to you.
And all of those pictures have been reviewed with the contractor,
All of them.
all of them.
Well, I guess I'm interested in them coming back next Tuesday to present their approaches
Yeah,
to it.
they were not prepared to speak
No, I
to
understand
some of the
that.
things that we just learned yesterday or discussed with them yesterday. So if you'd like to, them to come back next week, or if you'd like to come back in 2 weeks, you tell us the date, and we will get somebody here to speak to those things.
We don't have a regular meeting next Tuesday, so I'd like to have them come back next Tuesday if that's
Next
possible.
Tuesday?
Yeah,
Next
we-
Tuesday's
okay.
our regular meeting. You
No,
guys-
that's the first Tuesday in
That's right, so you want
in November, so.
next week, okay.
Well, I will let you know that the 86-foot lift won't reach from outside of the sidewalk.
That's
Or
right.
interior sidewalk.
So as part of their, I want them to say how many places they're gonna park it, where they're gonna
Right.
bust the concrete, which they're gonna have to come back and
Right.
and replace.
Because our 86 had to be right up next to the building for me to reach the animals. So now that we got the sidewalks, you're gonna be another 50, 60 foot out, so it would be 120, 120 plus probably to be able to reach.
They're contending, I will ask the question, and Mitch heard this too. They're contending that an 85-foot from the front would get to the triangular corner pediment that's above each of the porches. I don't think they're talking about getting to the inside corners. So that's a question that we can ask them.
Because that's an additional distance to go in. I mean, I don't know if that'll reach.
Yeah, the sidewalks went and pulled us out. We couldn't, we had a hell of a time reaching because any higher than that because the ramps had pushed us out so
Right.
far.
Right.
And anything on the south side, you gotta deal with the ramps. The ramps are
Right.
there to where that pushes you out an extra
Right.
50, 60 foot. And then the sidewalks, we were inside the sidewalks when we were going up and hitting the downs.
And maybe, it certainly could be a combination of things. I think what they're telling us, it's cost prohibitive for them, they believe, to put scaffolding on all 4 of the porches. And if we had to do it on the south very specifically because of the plaza or something, then they've got to understand that.
Yeah.
So those are the kind of things I think that we should, we will follow up with them after this meeting and ask them to be prepared to speak to you next Tuesday.
Is it possible to put planking underneath that lift so it spreads the weight out?
Yeah, and they would certainly be doing that as well.
It still broke the
It's-
sidewalk.
Yeah, it'll still crack the sidewalk.
Especially when it's relatively green concrete.
Right.
So, on your list of conditions that are acceptable, you put visible fasteners at joints and other conditions that are not found in a decorative bracket. When we spoke about this months ago, and I expressed concern about how you covered those brackets, and you told me that they'll be riveted to hold them, and then those holes will be filled so you won't see the rivets. I'm seeing the rivets, so.
I don't think you are. I think the rivets are complete, or you're seeing are not there, and you're seeing solder that's been placed over the rivets. The brackets, all the brackets are fine. Every one of the scrolls is fine, with the exception of one that's been dented, that's noted in that report, that's on the south face.
I sent you examples of far more than that. I mean, they're.
And I've looked at them, Heather, and I'm
He said
telling
he
you
passed them.
that I don't
He already
believe
said
that
he
is the
passed them.
case. So I have,
Well, clearly your standards are not as high as mine.
It's not one piece, you're not gonna have multiple pieces butted together and not be able to see.
No, I'm not talking about that, I'm talking about the actual dental brackets themselves, the decorative brackets. I mean, that's not the only one that was dented, there are some that are actually crooked,
yes, there are.
and that's acceptable.
It is when you consider how it has to go back onto this building in the manner to get it to close up the other seams around it. There may be an instance where it has to distort to meet the conditions of the building. I realize that's not the way it was originally.
Yes,
However, all of that has been removed and they put it back in the best manner that I believe that they could do. And as a result of that, I'm telling you, what's in the report are the things that I believe are acceptable and the other things that are not. I'm not looking at this again. That is my finding.
well, I didn't want to look at it a second time either.
Right. I've issued my finding on it. We can decide whether you want to correct the things that I've noted or not, and how you would like to do that.
So,
Let's talk about this. If we correct it, and they come back, and they bring in a lift, and they crack up the sidewalks and tear up the tanks, sod, this town is going to have an absolute meltdown.
you don't think
because-
they're upset now with the fact that
No,
we
I
found this
don't.
stuff?
I don't think very few people care that you can see a sod from 100 feet up. You saw it from 6 inches from a drone. I can't see it from 100 feet
Rick
looking up.
identified some things that need to,
I
should
think,
be
s-
fixed.
but how, what are the justify, is
We'll-
Ann's
we'll
gonna
know
justify
more-
the
We'll know
needs?
more next week.
If it tears everything up to fix that little hole, I don't know, and it won't compromise the building, the experts have said. Is it worth that? Just give us the credit of what it will, it's gonna be expensive to haul in that lot, that, I just wanna look at this, what
We're-
this
we're
is,
not paying
what
for
we're
that.
gonna
That's
tear
not
up. I
enough.
know
That's
we're
not
not,
enough.
we'll get a
That's not
credit back. Maybe
No,
we should take,
The fact is, Diane, we paid for all this to be put in new. And we're finding things, that was punched off. And had this private citizen not taken a drone out and looked at this stuff and sent me the information, we would not even be having this discussion at all. So my concern is that we paid for brand-new dentals, and we're getting dentals that look like, at best, they've been repaired, the old ones have been repaired. And the pictures that Rick has included in his report is a fraction of what I sent him. I'd be happy to send you 68 emails that I sent him, so you can see all the pictures that were provided to me. So-
At some point, I'm gonna rely on Rick's expertise
Me
on this, and
too.
he identified some things based on those photos that should be addressed. So next week, when we meet with the contractor on that, they can present their 3 proposals. Some of it they won't even know, because they don't know how much damage they're gonna do, but if they were able to do this in the winter time when the ground is frozen, there should be less damage to any sod, is that correct?
well,
always thought the opinion.
Can't
Touch up.
That's the challenge. When these things are corrected, there's gonna have to be a painter that needs to follow up right behind them.
Let's hear what
can
they
you
have.
do it, can you do any of this coming from the top down? You cannot.
That's what I was wondering, if you could almost like
Repel somebody, because you repelled Steve off
We
of
can't,
something.
we can't do it with that, Diane. They need equipment, and from a safety standpoint, I don't want them doing that either.
The scaffolding is the best, but it's so costly, I know.
But that's not on us.
I know, and I don't care if it costs them. I agree, I'm not saying I think this is perfect, I think there's some really
I'm not
snafus.
asking for perfect.
I'm
I'm asking for good workmanship, Diane, and if you saw what I saw, I'd be happy to send
I saw
you.
a lot of your pictures, and some of it I couldn't tell if it was paint or bird poop, I just honestly couldn't tell.
Well,
Some of it's
we'll have that
fine.
discussion next Tuesday, and then we can chart it course.
All right, we'll have them come here.
There are other things in the sheet metal report, such as 2 areas that I believe are showing rust on the west pediment. So those things can be repaired at the same time. They could even be repaired by ladder off of the porch. There are a couple things, those items have been listed in that report as well.
things rusting if this is copper?
I don't know what specifically has happened there until we can understand, the conditions we get up to it. I suspect that someone did not prepare prior to painting those couple of areas, and that's what we're seeing. It also could very well not be rust. All I can tell you is it looks like rust as I look at those two particular pictures.
I think it was birds trying to build a nest in there. I think I've seen
It
it.
very well
so
could be.
Okay.
I don't think it's rust, but it looks like it in the picture, that's why.
I know, but we did paint it.
Right.
Are they pigeons? Probably. We don't-
I didn't know pigeon
There's a
poop
lot
was
of bird
brown.
poop everywhere up there.
Some of it's
so.
white. We need a falcon, but we're not high enough.
So that's another component of the report, and you have a copy of that. The other report I did issue was on the windows. There are two components there. One, I can't tell from the photograph, but I would like to look at it on the south side. It looks like there may be an area that was filled and perhaps not painted, but I'm not sure. And the second one we've already talked about, which is we need the cover at the air conditioning condensate lines out of the south window. The rest of those, the windows have been installed a year earlier. I have looked at all of those windows personally. On a lift, I found nothing of substance. When I looked at that, I did this with Jeff, we found 2 or 3 areas that we touched up the sealant on, but the rest of it was absolutely fine. So with the exception of those 2 things, I'm accepting the rest of that as well.
So the one window that needs painted, Nick, you said Nick will be here, so he can, or some painter, so they
I
can
need to
catch
confirm
them.
that's what it is, it may be
You
nothing.
don't know from the picture where it's
Yeah.
painting or bird poop or.
It's
they say
one
it's-
that's directly on the south face, but I can't, I don't know, that's all I've got is a close-up of it, so I need to look further.
So there were several pictures that I sent you where it looked like the caulking or the sealant around the windows had been put on top of the paint, because it had a gray area. I also found nicks and dings and scratches and dents.
I
Those
would
are acceptable?
disagree, Heather, and again, I've issued my findings on it. There are many other things in that are indicative, frankly, of water and moisture and the impact that they're going to have on the windows in terms of staining and obviously on the stone and the sealant joints. But the rest of it, I'm accepting.
Okay. So I'm a little concerned here is that, we both of these items you told us were punched, okay? And now we're coming back with issues because of what was given to me by this private citizen. So I'm a little concerned that, with all due respect, you're saying it's acceptable. Well, you told us before that these were acceptable until we had proof that they were not acceptable. So please understand my irritation on how this is going on.
I certainly understand it. I can tell you that these weren't punched once. They've been punched multiple times. And frankly, they've been punched not as one complete set of things, like all windows at once, but we've had to move around the building and punch one corner, come back, punch another corner, and so on. So our expectation would be that we have access to that and we do this in one fell swoop or nearly one fell swoop. So I think we've been very accommodating to understand that we need to come back multiple times and look at the windows that are there. And we've identified things and corrected those things. None of that is acceptable until we do a final punch and accept all of it. That's what this does. So
Okay,
with
so
the
when you-
exception of the few things that are remaining here, I believe the windows are satisfactory with the 2 exceptions that I've listed. That's on the exterior. On the interior, last week, I've had Jimmy Peters come in and do the interior window punch based on reviewing, again, the photographs that you provided, Heather. I know that Jimmy and Jeff went around to every single window, looked at your photographs, and understood what needed to be done. There were about 20 items that were added to the punch list. I'm not putting a report together on that. They've made it to the punch list, and I know that Jeff's been working on those. And I will come back and do a final punch on those 20 items.
So Jeff is correcting everything.
He's already correcting, or
He's already
maybe even has
corrected.
much of it corrected
Most of them
as
are.
we've gone through this.
Right.
So the biggest item I think that still remains on the windows is the courtroom windows, where we've got the new trim that we're working on, and it sounds like we're finishing those this week.
Yeah,
So once all that's done, we'll come back and do the final.
yeah. The pictures that were taken in there, we were kicked out before we had a chance to finish. They've been finished, sanded down, filled. They're ready for stain and varnish, so. He had quite a few pictures of them before they were even finished, so they are finished now.
So all the window trim is being final punched now, is that my understanding?
It's been done.
It's already
Everything's
done.
been done. The last pieces that we still need to look at are the courtroom windows.
So you've passed everything but two things.
No, that's not what I said on the interior windows. There were approximately 20 items
Okay, got
on
it.
the interior that still needed to be corrected. And there are windows in the courtroom that we have not looked at based on the work that's still occurring right now.
I sent them a bunch of pictures, Diane, of the window trim. I went to all the windows.
Yeah, and you did your punch list last Friday, your own.
That was, I had to do it in stages because I couldn't have access the whole time because of people in their offices. But no, I sent him a final list of the trim. Obviously, the courtroom windows are not done
Right.
yet.
Right.
But the ones that were supposedly already punched, I sent them expressing concerns with that. So
Sounds
there's
like they're
three
being
issues.
addressed.
There's three issues here. Was the
Yeah, so-
external windows where you said there's only two things left that you have concern. There's the dentals where there's multiple things you have to talk to the subcontractor about, okay? I was under the impression that, from conversations that we've had, that those two things were already punched, which is why I gave you that information and say, hey, I have some concerns. Regarding the interior window trim, I was also under the impression that you had gone through there and punched it. Is that not the case?
We have,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Okay, so when I gave you the items that I had concerns about, those were after your punch, correct?
Absolutely.
Okay,
So
so,
I've
and you're gonna go
revisited
back.
20 things based on the information that you have provided.
Okay.
So they are items certainly that are valid to look at and understand.
Okay, so like, to go, my point again is that we wanna trust your expertise. And it's irritating to me that I have to go back and look at these things and I find issues when there shouldn't be issues. So that is my frustration, Rick, is that this is not my job. I mean, I should not have to follow around and make sure. I expect high quality and I expect good workmanship from the people we hire. This is a very expensive project.
And
for-
those concerns
for-
are being addressed.
my point is that I should not have had to do it because he said it was punched, I should have been able to trust what he said was punched. I should not have to go back and look and then I find issues, that's irritating to me.
I understand what you're saying.
So my point is that, and I hear your frustration in your voice, and I'm trying to control my frustration, but now there's three different things that I've had to go back on, one of which I had no choice because a member of the public sent it to me. And I keep coming back at this and saying, okay, you punched, it was fine, trust me, it's fine. Now you're saying, now trust me again. So do you understand my frustration?
I do, Heather, and frankly, we can go through and punch list a building in phases, and nothing precludes me from going back and finding something else. And I'm sure the second time I've punched things, I have found something else that I would like to have corrected. So it doesn't surprise me that anybody who looks at this is going to provide a subjective opinion on what they think is acceptable and what isn't. So I could go through the whole building again, and I might even find one more, Heather, but we're looking at thousands of conditions. We're down to 20 on the interior.
So it's
I
an ongoing.
appreciate you looking at them, I appreciate you providing me with additional information. We've gone through those, and I've issued a finding on that, and obviously it's made it in the punch list.
All right,
We will
well,
get
sounds-
those things corrected.
Interior windows are being
doing-
addressed, exterior window, a couple items gonna be looked at, and we'll have more discussion on the dentist next Thursday. All right. Anything else?
The Smith warranty, still with our attorney, so we're waiting for her to
I
finish
think
that.
she's okay with it.
She
She
was
asked
okay.
for feedback. and
I gave her
some
some, and then
feedback,
I
and
haven't seen it.
a revised thing, so I can circle back with her on that today.
See if
where
she can
she's
get a
at, 'cause She
final-
was in court this whole week.
Final revision out.
So,
Just ask her to send us Michelle can do that. Ask her to send us the plan.
It doesn't matter to me, but I had talked to her about something else today, so I was gonna ask her about that.
So I don't want to do it.
I'll just do it. So hopefully we'll have that information to you, so your attorneys can look it over, Mitch.
Okay.
I don't think I have anything else.
Hey, Dan?
No, we've already
I
addressed it.
think we've talked about a lot of things. Anything else? Chip, you have anything? All right. If not, I have a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion by Diane, is there a second?
Second.
By Heather, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, everybody.
Set a meeting for next week,
Yes.
and we also have a special